All right, we are back. The Jets Group Chat podcast. Thank you for tuning in. As always, you can find us on Instagram, Twitter. Where the fuck else are we speaking? TikTok. I'm not a big TikTok guy. Yeah, but we're on TikTok. You can listen to every episode daily on Spotify, Apple Pods, YouTube. You get the video version on Spotify and YouTube if you want to see our beautiful faces. Otherwise, if you don't want to see how ugly they are, handsome Jer's on here. Yeah, you could blur me out if you want to see how handsome Jer is. You could get that on the YouTube page. But like, subscribe, tell all your friends. We appreciate you. But we're back after kind of a couple weeks of mourning. The season has come to a close, either mercifully or sadly. I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. But season is done. The on-the-field activities are done, and there's a lot of uncertainty going into this offseason. Obviously, it's a pivotal year for the franchise, but probably more questions than answers in a lot of key areas. And one of those questions, of course, was answered today. Obviously, the coordinator LaFleur was let go shortly after the season, so that was kind of the big vacancy on the staff, if you will, along with a couple other coaches that were let go. But obviously, LaFleur gets canned, and then now there's been this search, this wide net, if you will, that they've been casting for the last 2 or 3 weeks with all these different names. And I don't know if you agree with this, Spiga, but I thought all the names that they were just kind of throwing on there kind of felt unflattering to begin with. Like there wasn't one guy that was on that like interview list where I was like, that's the guy I want. Go ahead.
And that's part of the silver lining. Excuse me, of this offseason and ending earlier than most of the other good teams. You had your first crack at any of the coordinators or head coaches that shook free. And this year is one of those very, very, very underwhelming years for the coaching carousel. Like you said, there's no big name, there's no big like hot grab. Of course, you get like a Kingsbury get let go. Wright gets go, and then Nathaniel Hackett gets let go. But there was never like a hot commodity gets onto the waiver wire. We got to go grab him. I mean, like Eric Bieniemy, and he's been interviewing for 5 years, still hasn't got the job.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no Dables, none of that, no Salas this year. So it was kind of cool to get a first crack at that. I don't hate the hire. I don't hate Nathaniel Hackett. I mean, the NFL is riddled with above average coordinators who just are shitty head coaches. Period. And we know it firsthand. I mean, look at Rex Ryan. Head coach, but if you told me right now, hey, we're going to bring Rex back to coach the defense, sign me up. North Turner, right. Buddy Ryan, there's tons of them. Josh McDaniels. Granted he had Tom Brady, but still above average play caller. Just it's a different ball game when they're the head coach.
A lot of them. Todd Bowles, Wade Phillips.
Bowles, exactly.
Yeah.
Couldn't cut it. So you bring him back as a coordinator, and he didn't take a year off. He didn't take time off. He didn't get totally knocked down the totem pole to be a passing game coordinator. He's coming in OC. He could have been home collecting $80,000 a month. For the next 3 years. Nope, came back. And so far, everything we're reading about him, he's high energy. Players like him. Great red zone play caller, which we fucking need because what were we, dead last or 27th last year in red zone?
Terrible.
So no matter how you slice it, this is an upgrade over the floor. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, that was kind of my initial thought. I mean, I know gut punched in noon on a Thursday. What did you think when you saw that come across?
My initial thing when I saw the notification pop up was like, ew, like whatever. But the more I thought of it, and it keeps coming back to like my thoughts this entire time is like it's not that attractive of a job. There's so many coordinator openings, but like I didn't view it in my eyes. I don't see the Jets offensive coordinator job as an attractive spot when you're looking for a guy with experience, like the Jets are. The Jets wanted a seasoned guy. They weren't trying to go back to another first-time guy. They didn't really – based on the candidates they were interviewing, it certainly looked like they wanted a guy like that. But from everything you read, it was kind of the opposite. It felt like they were either going to hire another first-time guy, like a passing game coordinator or a tight ends coach, or they interviewed a couple guys from the Eagles, the the dude from the Patriots, the tight end coach. They
Miami.
interviewed, yeah. They interviewed a bunch of different guys, but like it always was like, oh, if they do that, then they're gonna bring in like a senior assistant, like an older guy, maybe Kubiak or something. Obviously, Kubiak has said he didn't want any kind of job; he doesn't want to work again. But it seemed like if they were gonna go the experienced route, there wasn't really that many experienced guys that like we said like are attractive or sexy names that are like gonna get you super pumped up about the direction of the offense. And so the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, if they want a guy with experience that you don't really have to worry about having and it still sounds like they do want to bring in a senior guy to kind of pair with him, like a Greg Knapp type of deal that they had prior. But Hackett seems like the most hands-off guy that you could possibly bring in. And I think Saleh was right in what he said today. Like when you're evaluating the job, I think you have to eliminate recency bias and like kind of take out the Broncos nightmarish 10, 11, 12 weeks, whatever that was that he had there. And kind of look at the body of work before that, where he was a quality offensive coordinator. He's probably a middle of the road candidate if all things considered what he's done. But I mean, Saleh, I think, said it best too. I mean, a year ago, there's only 30 something of these jobs. There's not many of them, and he was he was a top candidate for one of those limited amount of jobs. So if he was good enough a year ago to get one of those jobs, he's got to be good enough to be a coordinator based on that.
And I have a tough time evaluating that Broncos season. Like, I mean, I've said it tons of times. I think Russell Wilson's been on the decline before he even came to Denver. Then they gave up a bunch of draft picks. Arguably, they were 17th ranked offense when Russell Wilson was not playing.
Right.
And then when he was playing, they were in the high 20s, so 26, 27. So I mean, I think maybe that has something to do with it. But again, he comes from a steepened background on the offense, and he's a proven commodity. He's not a first-time 23-year-old or 31-year-old where you said you don't really know what you're getting and shooting for the stars. This is more of like a double or a solid single hit by Joe Douglas and Saleh. They need an established vet. They need somebody who's done it before. You can't have that first time. You need consistency. You need a high floor. And I think as a coordinator, I think Hackett gives you that. Now, I have to disagree with you. I don't think the Jets are as unattractive as people think. Granted, there's going to be some cap casualties we have. Granted, there's a lot of free agents that we have, but look at the core, of what this team is. You have a solid defense. You're probably going to play Q. You got Sauce on one side. You've got DJ Reed on the other. You got a pretty solid defensive line. Look at your offensive weapons. Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore. You still have the big tight ends. Breece Hall is coming back. Michael Carter. Bam Knight looks like he's good. Granted, the O-line needs some tweaking, but I feel like they're a quarterback away. And I know that's the big piece here. But the way things are aligning, you're going to get three of the big four. It just, the writing's on the wall. You're probably going to get Carr. You're probably going to get Rodgers. You're probably going to get Garoppolo if you miss out on all of them. And then your pipe dreams, Lamar. Right. I feel like Woody has put a Steve Cohen type of mandate here. Whatever it takes. Just go get it. Just go do it. Figure it out. Because I think they know they're in win now. I mean, I hope it's not we are a win this year and next year is a different story. But I do think they get one of those big quarterbacks, and I think they're immediately a deep playoff run contender. No matter what people talking shit about Rodgers is. If he comes here, even if you mortgage 2 first-round picks, so?
Yeah, I'd do it. I don't even think twice about it.
Like, who would you take this year? Oh, yeah, we would have took somebody. We took a running back. Took him next year.
Oh, I would have rather had the picks and had Jacoby Brissett, so we had the picks.
And we would have got an edge rusher. Got it ready.
Yeah.
A big weapon receiver. Got him. Corner. Got him. Like, I feel like we hit so well last year. We can bite the bullet and look at the fucking Rams. Fuck them picks. Yeah. Morgan's the entirety of the future to get the Super Bowl. And I guarantee you ask every Jet fan, 10 out of 10 will say, if we win the Super Bowl next year, but we're going to suck and go back to mediocrity for the next 15, would you take it? Every one of them says yes.
No, 100%. I would take one Super Bowl next year and take offers the rest for the next decade.
100%.
The Jets literally didn't win a game for the next decade to win a Super Bowl next year. I signed for that and don't even care.
They'll bat an eye.
Don't even bat an eyelash. My only thing about just going back to our disagreement, I agree with you. Like, the offense has good core pieces. The franchise itself has good core pieces, and they're close. Like, they're really close to being a playoff team. And if they hit the quarterback right, it's a borderline, can I contend for a Super Bowl type team? But the problem is you don't know who that is when you're taking this job. So you're going in there, that
True.
piece isn't there. And the situation is so fluid. Like, you could want Aaron Rodgers. It's not easy to get Aaron Rodgers. Does Aaron Rodgers want to play? Is Green Bay going to trade him if he does want to play? What's the price tag? Are you going to be able to get Lamar? Is Baltimore going to trade him? Would they trade him in the AFC? Is Carr going to get traded now? I mean, Carr's probably going to be the first domino. If you're not in on him, he's going somewhere else. Then he's off the board. Then you're kind of desperate. So, like, yeah, they probably will, because the Jets are desperate enough. They're going to have to get one of those four guys. I agree with you. The quarterback on opening day is either going to be Derek Carr, Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, or Jimmy Garoppolo. I think it's got to be one of those four guys. Otherwise, this offseason was a fucking failure. But I think the other caveat to that is not knowing who that quarterback is. You're kind of hitching a wagon to something that's not known. And you also probably only have 1 year to turn this thing around. If the Jets don't win next year and make the playoffs and go on a run, you're fired anyway. So I'm taking this job. I'm taking this job with no quarterback and the understanding that if I don't win right away, the whole fucking staff is gone and I'm gone looking for another job in a year anyway. So to me, that's why it was such an unattractive job, is because you're going in there with the staff already intact. Woody never says there's no playoff mandate. We know if they don't make the playoffs and they don't show a huge turnaround offensively next year, everybody from the fucking GM to the janitor could be out of there. So
yeah,
you're taking it with like a 1 year understanding that if we don't win and we don't get this quarterback right and you don't turn this offense around, you don't have the luxury of like LaFleur had to, like a slow build. You got to win in year one. Like, you got to figure this shit out in year one. And is it possible? Sure. Like, if Hackett obviously took that job, he, like Connor Hughes said, homeboy could be sitting on a beach right now collecting a paycheck, not thinking a thing about football, and he'd be fine. But he obviously wanted the job. And I just think it'd be crazy that he took the job not having some kind of understanding with Joe and Saleh that they have a few cards up their sleeve as to what they want to do. He's got to have some kind of vision. I think
that's my thing.
I think he would have had to have been pitched on something to want him to take that job.
And that's my thought process, is like, I agree with you. And I did think about that as well, where it's like, even though it's probably certain you could probably, take it to the bank, you're going to have one of those four as your starting quarterback next year. However, do you think, again, somebody knows something right now and they pitched him? Did Hackett come in there and say, listen, I can lure this dude here? Again, stuff that's not, privy to the rest of the fan base, but obviously there's things that get said in NFL circles that most people don't know. They could be working on a trade already, and that's why he's here now. And then in 3 weeks, here it comes.
Right.
Or my thought process, reasoning of being somewhat attractive is because you can come in and you can watch this team this year with competent quarterback play. This team is a playoff contending, possibly win the playoff game team.
I mean, they were a playoff contending team with bad quarterback play.
That's what I'm saying. So you could, and he's good at taking either good quarterbacks in Aaron Rodgers or subpar quarterbacks, ergo Blake Bortles, and making them successful. Period. So is it one of those things where he's like, it's a combination of both? I know we've got something up the sleeve. We're going to have somebody, but if not, and we go and we get a fucking, I don't want to say journeyman, but we get something, I can make it work. I honestly think Hackett being here, depending on what next year is going to look like, Zach Wilson's going to be here for the entirety of his contract. They're going to, I think they are really, 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 really still gung-ho about making it work somehow. Like, if he's going to be your number 2 next year, let's say you bring in Rodgers. Don't even think about playing. Just
Oh yeah,
attach yourself to Rodgers' hip for the next 2 years, and wherever he goes, you go. And if you can't figure it out after that, like look at Jimmy G. That's exactly what he did to Tom Brady. Like he probably could have started, but coming from Northern Illinois, who knows? Attach yourself to one of the best or top 5 quarterback in NFL history, and then in a couple of years, if you can't figure it out, then we know what it is. But if you do, here's where we could be.
it's essentially what Jordan Love's done his entire career. He's going into year 3, or what is this, year 3 for him? Year 4? I don't even
4 almost. But that was a whole nother. That was a stupid. You should have kept getting receivers, kept getting playmakers. Why you got a backup quarterback 4 years ago?
Well, they drafted Rodgers said it. Rodgers said it 2 weeks ago on that Pat McAfee show. He said that they already had my replacement, and he's like they probably like these conversations that they're having now, whether he's going to play, if they want him. Like he said, this probably should have happened 2 years ago, but he goes, I won 2 MVPs and they kicked the can down the road. You can't get
he won 2 out of the past 3 years MVP.
Yeah. So he's like, you can't get rid of me after winning an MVP award. And so now that I didn't win an MVP award, we didn't make the playoffs. You could kind of open that box again now, and is now the time to move on? Is now the time to make the youth? But he's like, make no mistake, they drafted my replacement. They already have my replacement. It's just a matter of when they're
on the wall.
He's like, it's just a matter of when they want to begin replacing me. He says it could be now, could be next year, could be 2 years. But I mean, if you think about it, that Jordan Love's going into his 4th year now, but they're going to have to pick up his 5th-year option in May.
Without knowing anything.
Right. I mean, by then I would think before May, you're going to already have an answer on what they did with Rodgers, but still, I think now is the time you got to find out about Jordan Love. If you're ever going to find out, you got to let him play this year. And if he's good, you have him for a 5th year, and then hopefully you get something done long-term. But, I think that's a factor for them as well. It just feels like everything he said, he's definitely playing. Like, I don't think he's retiring.
He's not retiring. He's playing. It's just where.
Yeah, and I think if it's not Green Bay, I think the Jets are going to be desperate enough to pay the piper and get him. Does he want to come to New York? I don't know. I guess that's the big question. Like everybody assumes, like, oh, he's coming to the Jets. Like he's going to control where he wants to go when it comes. He doesn't have a no trade clause, but like he's close enough with the Packers, the GM, the ownership, the staff, where like they're not going to send him somewhere that he doesn't want to go.
And so, they already said he's not going to get traded into the NFC.
Right.
So that takes out half the teams. So even if you stay within the AFC, like now it becomes a who do you like more? Who's more attractive? Like you put him on the Titans. Are they good?
I think they're better than the Jets.
I don't think so. Not with that defense. I mean,
maybe.
I won't say what weapons. I mean, but still, like, I don't see it. I mean, they might be more consistent, but I don't know.
He seems like a dude that would like chill in Nashville all the time. Like, just seems like a guy that would blend in Tennessee pretty well. But I don't know. The Raiders, I don't know if they can afford him, but they're going to need a quarterback.
Yeah, they're gonna have a top pick.
Maybe Miami. Maybe Miami moves on from Tua to bring Rodgers in. I don't know. I mean, I could see that happening. I don't know. It's interesting, but I think at the end of the day, I think the Jets are probably the best suitor if you're talking just AFC teams like ready to win now. They have a stud wide receiver, arguably 2. If you're putting Elijah Moore into an offense with him, I think you kind of take last year out of the equation and you forget about everything that happened with him last year. Yeah. Because I think there's some people that are down on Elijah Moore. They think maybe he's not a good player, but I think a lot of it was the way they utilized him. It was the poor quarterback play, and it was a bad attitude at sometimes where I don't think he ran every route as efficiently as he probably could have. He probably checked out at some points, and I really can't blame him for that. But I think we've seen what kind of player he could be when he's bought in and he's engaged and there's good quarterback play. We've seen what he can be. So, I mean, you're talking about 2 or 3 really good weapons on the outside and a stout run game. You hope the line works itself out with AVT back, Becton healthy. You resign McGovern at center and you figure it out from there. And obviously the defense is going to be stout. So it's kind of a tailor-made situation for a veteran. It's a plug-and-play guy. You bring the guy
Yeah,
in, and you don't really have any questions. You just know he's going to hit the open guy. He's going to make the right decisions. Is he gonna kind of have those gunslinging mistakes, if you will? Sure, but I mean,
fine. Make a mistake, make it big. Who cares?
it comes with the territory. It's a guy that can play in cold weather. I know a lot of people have reservations about that with Derek Carr. I didn't realize how bad like historically Carr is in cold weather games. Like it's like historically bad.
Really?
And I don't know what kind of reservation like teams have about pursuing somebody like that, but he's not played well in cold weather
Well,
historically.
hopefully with global warming, we don't have to worry about it. But
Yeah, that's
who
nice.
knows?
We're
But
on
like,
the
look at here the AFC teams. He ain't going to the Chiefs. He ain't going to the Bengals. He ain't going to the Bills. He's not going to the Patriots. He's not going to the Jaguars. Maybe the Jets. That's one. He ain't going to the Dolphins. I just don't see it. I
I don't,
mean,
I don't think so, but I don't think you can
yeah.
rule it out either. I
Let's
mean,
all right. Let's keep him in. Right. Broncos, no. Raiders, it just physically the economics don't work.
yeah, I don't think they do either.
Ravens, no. Maybe if Lamar goes, but I don't see them going from one MVP to another.
Right.
Chargers, no. Browns, no. Colts,
Colts, but why would he want to go? It's like a rebuild feel to it.
yeah, and same thing for the Texans. It's a rebuild team,
Right.
and then you have the Titans or the Steelers. And you ain't going to the Steelers.
Yeah, he's not going to
I
the
mean,
Steelers. If they
honestly,
if they truly are ruling out NFC teams.
I think they would because I know he'll come back and rue the day that they traded him for
But like at
how
that
many
point,
years.
at that point though, like you're trading him, you're rebuilding anyway. Like if you get rid of Aaron Rodgers, you're going for a rebuild. The cupboard's pretty bare to begin with. I mean, there's some good
Yeah.
young players there, but like you like Watson a little bit. Maybe Romeo Doubs is a guy. They have a couple decent running backs in Dillon and Jones, but like there's a lot to be desired there. If you move on from him,
Yeah.
you could maybe compete, but you're probably going towards a rebuild period. And so at that point, he's only going to play for another year or two anyway. By the time you're ready to win again anyway, the guy's going to be retired. So if somebody in the NFC is going to offer you the best deal, I'd take it. But I mean, I get why they wouldn't as well. So if that's, I hope that's the direction they're leaning in because that's better for the Jets. It waters down the pool, like you said, by half. Because there'd probably be a lot more interested teams in the NFC if they would move him there. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with Brady? Like Tampa Bay could be interested there. Carolina needs a quarterback. Washington's going to need a quarterback. So there's a lot more.
Atlanta, anybody, there's tons.
Yeah, there's a lot more teams that could use a veteran quarterback in the NFC than there is the AFC, and I think the Jets are right at the top as for that veteran market. They're probably the most attractive landing spot if you're talking AFC teams. I don't think there's a more attractive situation to just kind of come right in, play, and be able to make
Or
the
he
playoffs.
stays. Or he stays.
Yeah,
that's also an option. I feel like the worst, competition against him coming to the Jets might be him just staying,
yeah.
figuring it out.
I think his first preference is to stay. Like I don't think he
Yeah.
wants to leave. I think
That's what I mean.
this all falls, I think, to the Packers. Like I think he's committed to playing for the Packers. He signed a deal to play for the Packers. And when you listen to him talk, he wants to be a Packer. But I think he's also come to terms with the fact that there's a very good possibility they might want to go in a different direction now. And he's respectful of that, and he gets that. He understands that. And I appreciate that because there's a lot of personality at this point in the NFL. There's a lot of egomaniacs and a lot of guys that like attention. And believe me, I don't think Rodgers is not that because I think Rodgers does a lot of things for attention. And I think he loves seeing his name in the spotlight. He loves being talked about. I don't think he's not guilty of that by any stretch. But I just appreciate like him being upfront and candid about understanding what the reality of the situation is. He's an older guy. The team already has drafted his replacement. He's acknowledged both of those things. And if they want to go in a different direction, he's open and receptive to the idea that if he's going to play, it might have to be somewhere else. And so I give the guy credit at 40 years old for being able to swallow that because I don't know, when you have such a storied career with one franchise and you've won a championship there and multiple MVPs and all pros and all these records, I think you've kind of earned the right to say when you leave. So when an organization tells you that they want to move on, some egos might not be able to handle that. Like when Brady left, like he left the Patriots, it felt like on his terms, like he left because he wanted to leave. Like I don't think there was a point where the Patriots were like, all right, Brady, it's time for you to leave now. He just got fed up with the way things were there and he left. Or it just usually works that way with like long tenured guys. It usually ends when they want it to end, but you never rarely see the franchise kind of move on and do it on their terms. But he's willing if the Packers want to move him, and I think that's where that respect comes in, where I think the Packers would help him land where he wanted to go. And so if the Jets come to the table with a deal that works for them, because you have to also understand, making this deal, you're not only ponying up draft capital, you might have to give up a player of some sort.
You got to pay.
But you're going to have to pay, but then you're going to have to pay in cash fucking money too. And it's not cheap money. You're not talking about again, though, the cap, you and I talk about it all the time. To me, the cap's like half a myth. Like the cap doesn't even exist, but it exists, but it's like easy to manipulate. Like they were talking the other day, like he's owed 60 mil, but if they trade for him, they could just add like 3 void years to his deal, which aren't actually real years. They're just years that you pay him out money. So like you could lower his cap money every year over X amount of years when he's not actually.
It makes no sense.
Yeah, like I still don't really get the cap. Like I get it, but I don't get it. And there's every time I think I get it, there's like another story or another like scenario that happens, and I'm like, how the fuck did they do that? Like I don't get it. Like this team had no cap room and they just signed. Like I remember like 2 years ago now when the fucking Giants signed like Kenny Golladay. They were like literally like restructuring like practice squad players' salaries like weeks before that. They had like negative $10 million in cap, and then they signed Kenny Golladay. And I'm like,
look at last year. The Saints were $97 million over the cap and cut nobody, and were able to go underneath it. It makes no sense.
Yeah, it just never makes any sense, and they're still able to sign guys and do things. It's just
but pivoting back and like let's say, I mean, obviously Rodgers is going to cost the most out of anyone who's out there. Like
I think Lamar would cost the most.
Lamar, yeah, but Lamar, we still don't even know if that's even possible. We're like hoping that he's going to get traded, but like he hasn't even come out and said stuff like that. But who knows? We know
it also feels like if Lamar shakes loose now, like I feel like Lamar's not a fit at all in a Nathaniel Hackett offense. Like
no
West Coast type deal. Like it's just not a match now, which is kind of like. Plus, I don't think Baltimore is going to let him go. I've kind of changed my tune on that. I think they're.
It's going to get ugly. Not anywhere.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But it doesn't seem like a scheme fit at this point now that they have Hackett there. So,
but like, let's look at where it is now. Let's say we take Carr off the table for just because he plays bad in cold weather or whatever. Let's just hypothetical. Now you're taking Lamar off the table. Where's the trade-off? Look at the team exactly who we are right now, right? Rodgers, who's 40, you're going to have to trade for and pay, and you're only going to have him for 2 years. Let's just call it 2 years.
No, you're probably lucky if you get 2. It's 1, you're hoping for 2.
Exactly. But let's just call it 2 just to be safe because, he loves football and let's say he digresses. Or like, let's say Jimmy G, who's a high floor, you're not really sure of the injury, but like you don't have to trade for him. You probably don't have to pay him. You're going to have to pay him, but not out the ass. And he's 31, and he knows solid in the offense. Like, it's like, where's the trade-off of, like, an older guy who's more expensive and you have to trade versus a guy who's not as good but maybe as good, has made it work in a team who's built somewhat like the Jets are right now. But gets hurt.
Yeah, I'll tell you where the trade-off is. It's in the ceiling. Like you said, Garoppolo has a floor. Rodgers has a floor. It's higher than Garoppolo's floor, but the ceiling is higher. And I think right now they have such a small window. Like all the skill position guys are on rookie deals. You're gonna have to pay them eventually. The Rodgers thing, I think, actually plays into their hand with those contracts because by the time those guys are ready to get paid, Rodgers will be off the books, and then you'll be ready to reset and figure it out from there. But just look at these teams that we're watching play these last 2 or 3 weeks. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, Herbert and the Chargers, Burrow and the Bengals, Allen and the Bills. Like, do we really think that fucking Jimmy Garoppolo is going to take the Jets into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs?
He did it last year.
I don't feel good about
not the Chiefs. But
you're telling me Aaron Rodgers is going to go in and go toe-to-toe with Mahomes, or Aaron Rodgers is going to go toe-to-toe with Burrow? I see that.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
need that like heavyweight guy to go. Like at this point, like you're not doing this to like win 9 games and make the playoffs. Like if you trade for Aaron Rodgers, you're making it to win
You're
the
Super
Super
Bowl
Bowl.
bust.
And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of if you want to be a 9-10 win team or do you want to win 11 or 12 and like fight for home field to fucking make it to the championship game. And I think that's the difference. Like Garoppolo is obviously anybody fucking Jacoby Brissett's a major upgrade over what they had. So like we throw the term around upgrade all the time. The word upgrade just has to be used super loosely when you talk about the Jets because the quarterback situation was so dire that almost anybody that you sign of, like you said, just a little bit better than mediocre is better than what we've had. So naturally, you can't downgrade there. You can only upgrade no matter who you bring in. There's going to be an upgrade there. But at that point, you want to shoot for the highest ceiling that you can. I think of the attainable targets, Rodgers has the highest.
Your time. That's all it is. Like if you went for Jimmy G right off, that's self-preservation.
And then you're gonna have to get another year. You're gonna have to sign Garoppolo for a longer amount of time. So like Rodgers, you know what you're getting. You're getting 2 years of like borderline Pro Bowl caliber play. And if he's healthy, I mean, the last 2 years that he's been healthy, he's won the MVP. So it's kind of like the Mets did with like Verlander and Scherzer. Like if they're pitching, if they're healthy, you're getting a Cy Young candidate. But like their fucking elbow could fall off at any time. They could get a blister on their finger and go on the IL for 2 weeks. So like you have all those question marks that come with having a 40-year-old quarterback. Obviously, learning a new system somewhat. Obviously, the familiarity with Hackett would be a huge plus in that. But like you're coming to a new city, you've played for one franchise, so like there's obviously a curve there. But this is you're talking about, like you said, one of the colossals, one of the greats that this sport's ever seen. And you also have to be cognizant of like trading for name and like getting into that whole thing because like it does come a time where like you're paying a guy for stuff that he's done already and not what he's going to do for you. And there's obviously some of that factor that's going to come with Rodgers.
Yeah,
is Rodgers
sell tickets? He's going to sell T-shirts. He's going to be a big draw in New York.
And fucking Woody Johnson loves that. Woody Johnson loves that, and he hasn't done it in a long time. The last time he did it was when he made fucking McCagnon bring Revis back in 2015. But like for years and years, he was all about the big ticket. He had to bring Brett Favre in when they had Pennington ready to roll. He had to bring Tebow in for the back pages. Then he brought Revis in for the back pages. And so it feels like it comes every 5 or 6 years where like the Jets go through these lean years, and then it feels like they need to step up. And even if it's a good move or a bad move, it's going to attract attention to the franchise. They're going to sell tickets. And of course, you have people tweeting at the Jets every day. How can you fucking raise ticket prices after this year? Well, now if he brings in Aaron Rodgers, you could justify it. You could, you worried why? I gave you Aaron Rodgers. Congratulations. So it's going to sell tickets. It's going to sell jerseys. You're going to sell games out. And not that I think that's the main motivation, because I think the main motivation is obviously he elevates your team to obviously, at the minimum, you're contending for this division with Buffalo and Miami. You're there. If you're not the favorite in the division, you're there.
Minimum.
Like I think you're right there with Buffalo for 2 years if Rodgers comes here and stays healthy. I don't think that's a stretch. I mean, they played with Buffalo toe to toe this year. They beat them once, and that was with Zach Wilson and Mike White playing. So it's just a matter of, can the defense repeat the performance of last year? I think asking them to do what they did last year is probably hard to ask, but like I think you just know you have a foundation where, are they going to be the number 1 defense in the NFL again? I don't know, but you should expect them to be 10. I'll take the number 10 defense. You should expect them to be a top 10 defense. Exactly. You can't expect them to, because they were historically good this year. I mean, it's the fewest points a team has allowed in like a decade. Like they've went from like 30th to 1st in points allowed in a year, and you rarely see that. So
they were able to back it up, 2009 and 2010? Maybe we could run it back again. Not again. You don't have to have the historical season. Be a top 10. Be a top 12 defense. Be comparable.
Be top 15 on both. Be top 15 in both. Be a top 15 offense and a top 15 defense, and they'll be fine. Like they were number 1 on defense and like 30th on offense. I'll meet you halfway.
Yeah,
I'll
meet
re-
me in the middle. I'm cool with that.
I'll regress back on defense and I'll go to 10 or 15 if you can move fucking 15 or 16 spots up on offense and just score some points every once in a while.
What's your gut tell you? Does this happen?
I think so. I
I think
think it's good.
Hackett brings you closer. I don't know though.
I don't know. I think that, but like I don't know. Like I think Rodgers legitimately like he says it, but I think he knows he wants to play. I don't think he's had those conversations with Green Bay yet. To legitimate. Like I don't know if he knows if they're going to trade him or if he's going to stay. Like I think if the Packers come to him and they whenever this chat is, whenever this rendezvous is that they're going to have, I think if they sit down there, I could see them coming to him and saying, "Hey, Aaron, we appreciate the what is it, 16, 17 years, whatever he's been there. We
Yeah.
appreciate it. We had perennial playoff team and we won a Super Bowl and you own all these records and he's like part owner of the Milwaukee, but like he's ingrained in the community and that'll be forever. Like that's not going to go anywhere. But I think they're going to say, listen, we have Jordan. We think he's at a point now where he's ready to play. We invested a pretty high draft pick in him, wanting him to learn from you, and we think he's at the point now where we're ready to kind of go in this direction. They drafted wide receivers last year in Watson and Dobbs. They're young. Um, I think they might just be ready to go in that direction and just kind of retool and do him and it's the money too. There's not a lot of flexibility with his contract there. So I think that's where this comes into play as well. Rodgers is always saying he's not in it for a rebuild. He's here to win. And I don't think he
Yeah.
wants to stick in Green Bay if they're going to rebuild. But like what else can they add around him conceivably this offseason that would change what they were last year? I mean, you have a Watson is a year more mature. Daubs figures out the kind of ebbs and flows that he had, but I still just think it's a middle of the road, not 8-9 win team at their peak. And do you want to just like run that back again? Like Lazard's a free agent. He's tight with him. Like they probably can't bring him back. Randall Cobb, he's a free agent. He's probably not coming back. Um, so just
They
all
might
these,
cut Corey Davis to get Lazard here.
yeah,
Fucking if Aaron Rodgers
yeah,
comes here.
yeah, I could see that. But I don't know what they could conceivably pay to any of the and the wide receiver market. I looked at it an hour ago. It's fucking bare. DJ Chark, Jacoby Myers, uh,
And
Juju
it's fun.
Smith Schuster,
It's
Marvin
funny
Jones.
for a running back year, which is through the fucking roof
Yeah,
with Saquon and Josh Jacobs and Tony Pollard. There's
yeah,
tons of them. But
yeah,
the wide receiver market, like you said, it comes, it's ebbs and flows. Other years it's robust. This year unless people get cut or shake free,
yeah,
it's not looking good.
yeah. Darius Slayton and it's not
Twos and
dark.
threes
Yeah,
and fours.
yeah. You're lucky. I don't even know if there's a two in there. I mean, Lazard maybe if you want to call Lazard a two, but like I don't know.
With Rogers, he is, or with
Yeah,
another with a Batman. Well, I mean, then they're saying Hopkins can shake free,
yeah,
but who the fuck
possibly.
knows what really go with him? They might be in for a rebuild too. The
Yeah,
Cardinals.
I mean, yeah, you don't have your quarterback for the next year, so who knows what's going to happen there? But yeah, I don't know. I'm still like up in the air, but like if somebody like put a gun to my head right now and said I had to make a decision, I think they're going to get Rodgers somehow, some way. I just don't know how quickly it's going to happen. I don't know how much like pondering the dude's got to do. He seems like just a guy that like seems like he beats to his own drum, but like when you he seems like that, but when you listen to him talk on the McAfee show, like he seems like he's like I want to like he's like I think I've earned the right to like take my time and think about what I want to do, but he's like I also don't want to hold anybody hostage either, and like I understand that like
Yeah.
a decision has to be made for people to do what they need to do. So I don't know. It feels like always like the week after the championship game, like the last 2 years or the last couple of years. Like I think it was both on January 30th. It was like the Monday after the championship games. You had the Alex Smith trade to the Washington, and then you had
Yeah.
The Matt Stafford trade to the Rams. Both happened the day after the championship games. So like Sunday is the championship games. You could conceivably start to see some kind of thing, like maybe the Derek Carr trade wherever he's
Well,
going to
that's what
end
I'm
up.
saying. We're so ingrained in this conversation of these big four quarterbacks that you're going to get more clarity as soon as the Super Bowl's over, regardless. Whether Carr shakes free, whether Carr gets traded here, traded elsewhere, like we're gonna know and be able to narrow down what's gonna the next offseason is gonna dictate a week after the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If that, days after the Super Bowl.
Yeah. It's gonna start to take shape, and I think things are gonna be like start to be agreed to in terms of trades, like obviously well before the league year. I mean, they can't become official till then, but you're gonna like start to hear rumblings of things happening. Like you said, the Matt Stafford trade couldn't be official till March, but that shit happened in January. Everybody knew about
Yeah.
it. And so I think sooner than later you need to know, because you can't have him drag this shit until like you can't go through the draft and free
No,
agency not knowing what Aaron Rodgers wants to do. Like, oh, we think we
I
could get
think
him, but he doesn't know what he wants to do, and you're not going to wait on the guy. But at some point, I guess that's where being a GM comes into play, and being a good one. Like, you have to have like a walk away date or a walk away time, or a drop dead thing where like, hey, I need to know now, and if you can't answer it now, then I got to go on to the next thing, because
I give it a month.
when the dominoes fall, they're going to fall quick.
They
I
fall
think,
quick.
and I think Carr is obviously, I think, going to fall first, just because of the deadline he has, February 15th. He can't be on the roster anymore, so that's coming up here in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks is February 15th.
Yeah, and then the start of the league year is March what 13th, 16th, something like that. So it's
Yeah,
like in theory, a month from now, we should know what's happening. And again, like I think if anything drags out and anything gets real ugly and bleeds into like training camp past the draft, that's gonna be the Lamar stuff. They're gonna give him the tender, or they're gonna give him the tag. He is not gonna sign it, and that's gonna be the talk of the town all summer. I just want to be out of that fire and not hoping for something negative to happen for a quarterback. I'd
right.
rather be like, let's get our guy. Now we're just sitting back and watching, like, oh, that's crazy. This shit's happening in the AFC. Cool. We got our guy. Now we're focused on the draft. That's all we care about.
Yeah. It just feels like the right move at the right time for a franchise that desperately needs everything that he brings. And it feels like the perfect fit, because the commitment's not long term. Like where the Jets are right now, I don't think they need that 6-7 year answer. Like you're not going to
No.
find that right now. That doesn't exist. So the next best thing is to go with the guy that's going to give you the best chance to win in the immediate. That's Aaron Rodgers. He's the most attainable. He's the most affordable when if you could work the money, which he is, and they could probably afford to give up the draft capital, because they have, aside from the offensive line, they have core players at all the players where you would want to draft that high. Yeah,
Yeah.
they have the corner, they have the running back, they have the wide receiver, they
They
have the
have the edge.
tackle,
Yeah.
they have Vera Tucker. Hopefully Becton's healthy; he's a big piece. But like at every phase, you have a core skill position player, whether it's corner or running back or wide receiver. You have at least one guy so like the draft capital you could live with punting on for a year or two. Like, are you telling me I can't pick another wide receiver at pick 13? Oh well, whatever.
That's why it was so important that we hit last year. I think
Right.
if they didn't hit like that, I think
Correct.
it's a tough conversation to sell. But because you got 4 or 5 perennial studs out of last year's draft, like honestly,
Yeah.
Clemens looks like he's going to be he's like a wrecking ball on the
Yeah.
outside. So is Jermaine Johnson. So is Garrett Wilson. So is Brees Hall. I mean, like it's you
I
can
agree.
like if you were to say, hey, you're not going to have 2 more first round picks. Like so what? We got 5 first round picks last year.
Yeah. Or I was talking to a friend of mine today, and he said, "What if they wanted like a young player of yours in lieu of like a pick?" And I'm like, "I'd prefer that." Like, if
Yeah.
the Packers were like, "Oh, give us pick 13 and Jermaine Johnson," fuck yeah! Like, I'd do that. I still have
Then sign Bryce Huff.
yeah, I still have Bryce Huff. I still have Clements. Then I could just re-sign Hankins or Rankins, excuse me.
Restructure Lawson. He was,
Yeah, right. So I mean, they're dealing from an area of depth. So like, if they wanted Jermaine Johnson or Elijah Moore instead of another first round pick, like I'd do it. Like I'd give a 1, a 2, and Jermaine, or a 1 and a 2 and more. And I'd rather do that than do 2 1s, I think. But
yeah.
just because you're dealing from a position of depth, and then go out and if you trade more, then go out and get Lazard, and you just plug Lazard into where Elijah Moore was, and you fucking rock. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. It just feels like the wheels are in motion now. I don't know how much I think like Hackett is connected to the thing though. Like, I think it's a bonus that they have
It's a
familiarity.
bonus. It's not TV. It's not
Oh,
saying, oh shit, we know. It's like, no, he's like, I
right.
can bring this. If he does come, it's great. If not, I'm good with young quarterbacks. Like it's
Right. Because I think a lot of people like Jets Twitter love you. You're our lifeline and our lifeblood here. But like
Good grade.
I don't think the Jets hired Hackett with knowing that they're getting Aaron Rodgers. I think they hope they get Aaron Rodgers, but like I don't think they know anything. Nothing's agreed to. Hackett doesn't know anything. Like he's taking the job. The Jets probably said, "Hey, you take this job. Our number one priority this offseason is to try and get Aaron Rodgers." Don't know how that's going to play out, but like if you take this job, we have every intent on pursuing that. If not, we're going to pivot to B, C, and D. And he probably liked the B, C, and D enough to take the job.
Yeah.
And that's how I think it played out. So I don't think the Jets like know that they're getting Aaron Rodgers, or because they hired Hackett. I don't think Rodgers like called the Packers today and were like, "Holy fuck, the Jets hired Hackett. Trade me now to the Jets." Like I don't think that's the way it's playing out either. Like I know they're close. I know he had an affinity for him and has spoken very highly of him throughout the years, but like I don't know, he's like making a career decision based on him going to a certain franchise. I think it's just if it ends up working out that he lands with the Jets, I think it's a bonus that they have him to make it more attractive for him. Like say it's a tie and he's like, "Oh, do I want to go to the Jets or the Titans?" Well, here I could live here, but like here, I already know the offense. I know the court. I'm going
I
to
don't
go
have to
here.
learn anything. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
It's going
So
to be
like,
convenient for him too.
right. So I don't think it hurts them in any pursuit. I think it only helps them in when you're talking the Aaron Rodgers scenario anyway.
But
So
I don't think it's an indicator either. It's not saying like, "Oops, somebody knows
correct,
something." It's like, no.
correct.
I think the cupboard was bare and they took who they got and they didn't let it drag on. Oh, well, we want to interview everybody. They're like, "Nope, we like this guy. He's good. Sign him." Actually,
Yeah,
it's a benefit. I
yeah,
actually, commend or them doing that.
yeah. And I think Salah said today they're gonna hopefully they also hired Carter today, the D lineman and or the excuse me the offensive line and running backs coordinator for me of the Titans, who has allegedly done a pretty good job there. I don't know much about him yet. I got to read into him, but seems like a solid hire that Salah's pumped up for. But it seems like you're going to try and like round out the staff here pretty quickly because he said all the coaches in the front office are going to like begin evaluating that veteran quarterback kind of
Mhm.
class early next week. So like I think the wheels are going to start to turn here. And now that you have Hackett in tow, I think a lot of his opinion and what he wants is going to be taken into account as well. Like, hey, you brought me here. We're talking about what we want. Hey, I know this guy better than anybody. I want him because he does this, 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 and this. I'm
And
going to
that's what we need
run
to
this,
win.
this, and I think this is what I need to take the offense to where you want it to be. But I mean, I think things could start. I think it's going to start, like you said, in the next couple weeks. But I think as the weeks drag on, you're going to start to see more smoke now. You're going to start to see little breadcrumbs here, breadcrumbs there. You're going to hear rumblings coming from different places, and obviously everybody's going to listen to the McAfee show every Tuesday.
Every day. Your
To
ratings go through the roof, man.
every Aaron Rodgers Tuesday, you're going to see what he has to say. So things are going to get interesting, and it's obviously a fun time of the year. We're going to probably record regularly now once again. Now that holidays are over, season's over, and we're really going to get into the off season now, and especially with the pursuit going on of the quarterback, we hope to record more frequently here, hopefully every week moving forward. But
Yeah.
just
Season
before,
2, Jets podcast, baby.
yeah,
Starting March.
we're coming up here on season 2 already. I can't believe it's almost been a year that we've started doing this. It's fucking crazy, but we appreciate
Been
all you
fun.
guys. Yeah, it's been awesome meeting some people, having guests, and just connecting with a whole community of Jet fans that we didn't really even know existed,
Yeah.
But I really like to just try and like figure out a better game plan to bring you guys regular listens on a more regular basis and not wondering when we're going to record. So here, obviously, we're ironing out the kinks year one, figuring out how to do this, and this is the first time I've ever done a podcast, or any of these guys have done a podcast. So we appreciate you guys kind of just sticking with us and listening when we do put new stuff out. But the goal is to put more content out on the socials and more listening content for you guys on
More guests. Yeah.
all the podcast platforms. So you guys have us to kind of hear our shitty takes and see if you agree. If you don't, fucking comment and let us know what you don't agree with, and we'd
And
love to go
everybody
back
will
and
just
forth.
wait. Everybody will just wait till we get my mom back on. Right.
Yeah, yeah. Everybody's waiting for the return of Mama Speaks.
We got to get my brother on. Mike wants to come on. He wants to
Oh
talk.
yeah, let's bring him
Talk
on
Jets.
for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Just before we wrap, what are you feeling for this weekend? The two championship game matchups. Philly, how you feeling? Philly, San Fran.
I don't know. I Philly, I think is going to smoke.
Oh, yeah.
I think, yeah, I do. I think they're hot. I mean, I think the Purdy party is inevitably gonna fall sooner rather than later, and I think this is the week it happens. Um, Philly's just too good. They're well rounded. I know the defense is sick in San Francisco, but I don't know. Them Eagles, man, they're just good. They're fast. They're good. I think the Eagles are gonna beat them. What about you?
I don't know. I'm kind of in the same boat. I'm leaning more towards San Fran, and I don't know why. Because I
That Purdy
agree. I
party?
agree with you. Like, I really like Philly. Philly's really good. Philly's fucking tough. But I think like when you take if you take the quarterback out of the equation, like I think San Fran's better than Philly. Like everywhere else but quarterback. Like I think their offense is better. I think their defense is better. Like I don't know. Like San Fran has weapons everywhere.
Yeah, I know.
McCaffrey and Mitchell, Debo and Ayuk and Kittle. It's just a matter of like the Purdy thing. Like you always have to account for the quarterback, and every week I think the Purdy thing's gonna fucking the
That's
road.
that's why I'm leaning that way. I
I
know.
keep thinking the pedal's gonna fall off the rose. I thought it was gonna happen last week, and I thought it was gonna happen the week before, and just he just keeps playing well and within the offense, but I don't know, man. Like it's gotta fall off eventually. I know, like I was debating with PJ in the group chat a week ago. He's like, "Why can't we ever get a guy like Purdy?" And I'm like, "Dude, he was the last fucking pick in the
We
draft. Like
Yeah,
nobody
we
knew."
we did.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't even know if Purdy is good. And he's like, "Oh, he's better than like half the quarterbacks in the league." And I'm like,
No,
I'm like, I don't even know if he's going to be their starter next year. like,
no, it's Trey
like they're
Lance.
they're riding the wave, but like I don't know how good the kid really is. I
He's
mean,
hot. He's hot and it's working. He's the talk of the town. But again, it'll happen because it's happened to every quarterback, especially every rookie quarterback since the beginning of time.
right? I don't know.
It's just it's gonna suck that it happens to him this late in the playoffs.
Yeah, my gut is Philly's going to win, and but like it wouldn't shock me if it went either way. I think San Fran is just so it's a really intriguing matchup. If San Fran had Garoppolo, or if I saw a full year of Trey Lance, I'd probably lean San Francisco. But the game being in Philly, um, I think I got to go Philly in that one. As much as it
See,
pains me, I think I have to go Philly.
see, talk about intriguing matchup. I think AFC has that intriguing matchup. I like the Bengals are red hot.
I'm on the Bengals. I think the Bengals win
I,
this.
I don't think so.
No, see, I
It-
do.
it's gonna and again. It's just they're gonna the streak will break.
I'm
We
much
know
more.
against Mahomes and why and
Yeah,
it's Mahomes. Like
yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, oh, why? It's because it's Tom Brady. I don't
yeah.
know why. It's because it's Tom Brady.
All
But
right.
I feel like with Mahomes, like he's walking without a limp. He's got a high ankle sprain. He's practiced 3 days after.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just how that game feels. The Bengals, I think, are better. I think they're definitely more well rounded, especially this year, and they got more weapons, and their defense is better. But it's Mahomes. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. I just like I could just see it, and he's got and he figures it out every time.
I mean, I respect it. I could see it playing out that way. I feel a lot more confident about Cincinnati winning than I do Philadelphia. I think Cincinnati fucking loves playing on the road. I think they relish going into hostile environments. I think they play better on the road than they do at home in these type of games. Like they love going on the road. Burrow is so fucking cool.
Now,
Dude never gets rattled. The dude's a son. Burrow's my favorite player in the NFL. I fucking love Joe Burrow. And he's just stacked with weapons. Chase and Higgins and
Higgins,
Boyd and Mixon, and they're mixing Perrine in there now. And man, they're just
they're good. They're the
the
better team. They are.
the defense is stout up front. They play well. The secondary's shoddy. Eli Apple needs to stop running his fucking mouth because he's one smoke job
He's
away
gonna
from
get
getting
exactly.
roasted for the rest of his life. That guy should shut his mouth if he knew it was good for him. But
You could just close your eyes and just picture
I,
Jim Nance and Tony Romo just talking about Mahomes and
yeah,
winning or
yeah,
leading a comeback. It
yeah.
is what it is.
I'm gonna go with Cincinnati. You're going with Kansas City.
And we're both going with the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles. I'm gonna go
I feel like I
Eagles.
want to just say, you know what, I'll go 49ers just so we could both be opposite.
No,
But
don't do that. Don't do it for the sake of the pod. Do whatever in your heart and your mind, Spiga.
what's in my heart is go get Aaron Rodgers. That's what's in my
Yeah,
heart.
that's what's in my heart as well, sir.
Figure it out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening. Spiga, thank you for hopping on, my friends.
No, thank you, man.
Again, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods, catch a listen. Social content, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I think we're coming up on a significant follower number on Instagram, 500 maybe. I don't know,
I think we're
1,000.
almost at 1,000 on Twitter too.
Yeah, we're close to 1,000
And the
on
Jets
Twitter,
followed us too.
and we got a follow from the Jets. Yay, yay! So that's pretty significant development. But yeah, keep following us. Tell all your friends follow us. We put some fun content out. And every 500 followers, we're doing a bunch of giveaways. So once we hit 500 on the gram, going to give away a jersey. You let us know who you want. We'll send it out to you. We did, of course, the Zach Wilson. We gave away a Zach Wilson jersey when we hit 500 on Twitter. That guy probably burnt that shit by now. So we will not send you a Zach Wilson jersey if you follow us. I'll make that the caveat.
You know what? I'll call it right now. We will give away a signed copy of Mike Westhoff book.
Yeah, that we could do too. We have a Mike Westhoff Figure It Out book to give away. We have some cards to give away. So we have a bunch of shit that we're gonna.
Shout out to Westy, friend of the pod.
Yeah, Westy, friend of the pod for sure. But once again, we're going to wrap. Appreciate you listening. Enjoy watching the championship games this weekend. Wish the Jets were involved, but obviously that's a decades-plus running nightmare as we speak. So hopefully we're there next year. With that said, take it easy. Jet up.
Jet up, baby.